All right, we're going back on the record on case CR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Vallow. The prosecution's here, the defense as well as the defendant. We're still in the state's case in chief and continuing with jury trial in this matter. Counsel, before we bring the jurors in, I'll first note all the jurors are present and have signed their juror affirmation for today. We were going through numerous exhibits yesterday and wanting to, I think, clarify the record with the clerks on the exhibits. Are there any matters regarding exhibits that we need to clarify before we get started again with evidence, Mr. Wood?
Just briefly, Your Honor, I have provided, yesterday we were missing the court copy and defense copy for Exhibit 68A. That has now been provided, and we'll go over that with Detective Consitis when he gets in. And then we will need to admit Exhibit 82 and readmit 82A. And if the court wants, we can do that with Detective Consitis. Just leave it to the court however you want us to proceed on that.
All right. Is 68A, has that previously been admitted?
Yes, under 68, which was the business records affidavit for it. It's a Chrysler Capital document.
Okay. So if that's
we didn't have the court or courtesy copy to the defense yesterday. So.
All right, but we did go through on the record and admit the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that is there. And then the other two, I'll leave that up to you to offer them then with your witness here, and we'll, I do have courtesy copies, so thank you for taking the time to work through those to make sure we were clear about what's in the record up to this point. Okay, unless there's anything further to bring up before the jurors are brought in, we'll go ahead and have them brought now. All right.
Sorry.
All right, please. Jury's all present, accounted for, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we're back on the record on case CR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Vallow. The state's continuing with its case in chief. Detective Considas is on the stand still for direct examination. I'll remind you, you're still under oath for your testimony today. You were sworn yesterday. The jurors are all present and accounted for. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for continuing to comply with the court's admonishment each day. We received your affirmations this morning and appreciate that. So with that in mind, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with your direct examination at this time, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. To start off with, I'm going to move for admission of State's Exhibit 82. It's an affidavit of records custodian for Blue Sky Property Management. This was a document that we thought had come in with the big list yesterday, but had not. So by way of stipulation, I'm going to move for that exhibit to be entered.
All right. Is there any objection to State's Exhibit 82 being admitted?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Exhibit 82 will be admitted.
Thank you. Detective, yesterday we had spoken about the finances of Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Do you have the same folder with you that you had yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have State's Exhibit 68A? Your Honor, I just ask for the bailiff to be able to hand the witness a copy of State's Exhibit 68A.
Yes, you may.
Oh, I think they're upside down, I think.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 68A?
I do.
What is it?
This is the finance vehicle application for a loan for Chrysler Financial for Charles Vallow in reference to a purchase of a 2018 Jeep Wrangler.
Okay. Your Honor, may I publish for the jury?
You may.
Detective, what was significant about this document in your investigation?
Well, when we were reviewing the financial records, as I mentioned yesterday, Tylee was having vehicle loan payments withdrawn from her Chase Morgan account. That's the 3918 account. And they were showing withdrawals of $599.09 for this vehicle.
Okay. When did those payments start?
The vehicle was purchased in April, and the first payment that came out from Tylee's account was in June of 2019.
Okay. When was the last payment?
Well, there were payments for June, July, and August, and those are the payments that were successfully taken out.
Okay. What happened after August?
Well, as we alluded to yesterday, when the monies for Tylee's Social Security were moved or transitioned from her Chase account into Lori Vallow's personal account, the BBVA account, the September car payment came back as insufficient funds from that Chase Morgan account of Tylee's.
And so it was set up on, was it set up on automatic withdrawal?
They were.
Okay. And so after September, were any payments made on that Jeep?
No.
Okay. Detective, are you familiar with a Jeep that was seized by the Rexburg Police Department in November of 2019?
I am.
Is this that same Jeep?
This is the same vehicle.
Okay. To your knowledge, Was that Jeep ever reported missing or stolen to the Rexburg Police Department?
It was not reported to any law enforcement agency that we were aware of.
Okay, and to clarify it, to make sure I'm clear, the Rexburg Police Department seized that Jeep, correct?
Yes, our department seized that Jeep on November 4th of 2019, and the vehicle was in the area of the Rock Creek townhome where Ms. Vallow resided.
Okay. Thank you. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 88A?
$88A.
Yes. Do you recognize that document?
Is this the email from Kauai Dreams Realty?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of hard to read on that Elmo, but what is the significance of this document to your investigation?
Well, as we're looking for the kids prior to the days that they were found.
Before we go forward, I apologize for the interruption, Mr. Wood. There was an indication I'm unclear on the status of 82A, whether that's been admitted at this time. I think it was, but I wanted to make that clear before we go further with publication.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Apologies. You can continue.
Oh, no, that's fine. Detective, what was the significance of this document?
Well, in trying to generate information to find the kids, we would monitor social media sites, and this information came up on one of the social media sites, so we followed up on it to see the validity of it. I reached out and spoke with Julie Black, the owner and chief broker for Kauai Dreams Realty in Hawaii. And this is an email that is dated November 8th of 2019 that Chad Daybell sent to Julie Black at Kauai Dreams Realty.
Okay. And is the body of the email on this document?
It is.
Can you read that?
Yes. Mr. Daybell writes, "We're interested in seeing this property. Would the owners be interested in leasing this property to a clean couple with no pets or children? Please let us know. Thank you."
What is the date on that document, on that email?
It's November 8th of 2019, 3 days after they were married.
Okay. What was the significance of that to you in your investigation?
Well, they're looking for a residence and telling them that they don't have any children.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 90A?
$90A.
Yes. What is that document?
This is a subscriber information for Sparklight or Cable One in Rexburg in the name of Lori Vallow for the apartment of 565 Pioneer Road, apartment 175 in Rexburg.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Detective, whose name is on the cover page of that document?
Lori Vallow.
Is there an email associated with it?
There is.
Okay. What was the significance of these documents to your investigation?
Well, two things stand out. This confirms that they moved up to the area. As it's stated, the creation date for this document was September 3rd, so they had moved from Arizona up. But it also shows that she's living in requesting service subscription for apartment 175 when she, as you recall yesterday on her rental lease agreement, it was for apartment 107.
Okay. And who actually lived in apartment 107 pursuant to your investigation?
Her brother, Alex Cox.
Okay. So just to clarify, Lori Vallow leased apartment 107,
Yes,
but she lived in 175.
correct.
Okay. Is there anything else in these documents that are significant?
Yes, it shows an IP address established for the account.
Okay. Does it show any type of internet history or that aided your investigation?
Yeah, well, there was Venmo transactions made from this IP address for this account.
Okay. And so were you able to track those transactions?
Yes.
Okay. Detective, will you look at State's Exhibit 90B? B is in boy.
Okay.
What is that document?
This is a subscriber account generation for Cable One Sparklight in the name of Alex Cox.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish?
Yes.
What is the significance of that document to your investigation?
This shows that the subscribing residence was for apartment 107.
Okay. Thank you. Was there anything else significant about that document to your investigation?
There was IP addresses associated with this account that were used in the investigation.
Okay. Detective, if you'll look at State's Exhibit 91A.
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is a document from the Windstream Communications Company in reference to an IP address that we had inquired about.
Okay. May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
What is significant about this document that aided your investigation?
Well, we had learned that Tylee's Venmo account was used and an IP address associated with it was documented. So we followed up on that, and we learned that the IP address was through the Windstream Communications. And when we contacted them, they say that yes, they are in charge of issuing IP addresses through their communications company, and the IP address specifically was issued to the Residence Inn airport in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. And why was that important for you to know?
Well, on October 10th of 2019, the $100 Venmo transaction was made, and we know through flight records that Lori accompanied her niece Melanie Boudreau-Pulowski from Phoenix to Kansas City, Missouri to visit friends, and the transaction was made through using Tylee's phone from the information we had.
Does this document show those transactions?
It does.
Can you go to that page? What does this document show?
These are recorded Venmo transactions to Tally Ryan's account.
Made from that IP address that you were discussing?
Yes, on 1010, the third row down, it shows $100 sent to Kobe Ryan with the message, "We love you." And there's the IP address there. That is the same IP address that we were able to validate from the Kansas City, Missouri residents in.
And Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 92A?
Apologies. Not showing it here currently. I'll have to just give me a moment. I can leave.
Your Honor, may I publish it for the detective to see?
Yes.
Detective, do you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the folio that we obtained from the residents in the name of Melanie Boudreau, and this confirms that our information that with the flight information that they were in Kansas City.
Okay, and can you remind the jury who Melanie Boudreau is?
Melanie is the niece of Lori Vallow.
Okay, and how many guests stayed with her at the Residence Inn?
Up here on the top right, number of guests states 2.
Okay, and in the state's previous exhibit, that IP address was tracked to that Residence Inn, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. A detective, for how would that IP address be located, or what was the significance of that IP address being located there?
Well, we know that, if I understand your question correctly, we know that through our investigation that Tylee or JJ didn't make that trip.
Okay.
And it was issued to, I think it was used on Tylee's phone.
Okay. Thank you. Detective, I want to talk to you briefly about the beginning of your investigation. At any time, did you engage in any type of search for pharmaceutical records for J.J. Vallow?
Yes.
What was the purpose of doing that?
Well, in cases, missing person cases and things, if we have a general idea of where a person had lived or is living, we can inquire to the state or area to see if there was any prescriptions that were filled. It's a tool or resource we use in law enforcement.
Okay. And is that a way to locate an individual?
Yes.
Okay. And do you do that through a state agency?
We do.
Okay. What's the process for doing that?
We reach out to it's in Idaho, it's the state prescription monitoring program. Each state has a variation of the same thing. We'll reach out to them, and we will submit our request, and they will run checks for the information we submit.
Okay. And what states, did you do this search with states other than Idaho?
Yes.
What states did you do that with?
I inquired to Arizona, the state of Hawaii, and the state of Montana.
Okay. Did you find any records of prescriptions being filled in any of those states?
No, not for the time frame
Okay.
we were inquiring.
What was the time frame that you asked those states to look at?
It was for 2019.
Okay. Detective, will you look at State's Exhibit 94A?
Okay.
It's a little hard to read, but can you turn to the page marked 1 of 2 regarding J.J. Vallow? And Your Honor, may I publish?
You may.
Detective, did you receive this from the state of Hawaii?
I did.
And what did those records show you?
Having trouble seeing in the lighting to read this, so.
The writing's small.
It shows that there were prescriptions filled in 2015 and 2017.
Okay. But were there any prescriptions filled in 2019 for J.J. Vallow in Hawaii?
No.
Okay. Did you do a similar search in the state of Montana?
Yes.
Why would you do such a search in Montana?
Early investigation, there was, I believe it was a tip that was called in, and we followed up on that the children may be possibly being held in a compound in Montana.
Okay. And so was this was an effort to follow up on that tip?
Correct.
Will you look at State's Exhibit 95A?
Okay.
Did you submit multiple names to the Montana Prescription Drug Registry for JJ?
I did.
Why was that?
Well, in the course of our investigation, we found that JJ his name had been changed on a couple of follow-ups, I guess we would say, and that JJ would go from Vallow or Ryan, and so we would use those names.
Okay. Detective, Your Honor, may I publish?
You may.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is the paperwork we received from the state of Montana from their prescription monitoring program in the name of J.J. Ryan.
Okay. Were any prescriptions found for J.J. Ryan in Montana?
No.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. Were any prescriptions found for Joshua Jackson Vallow in Montana?
No.
And were any prescriptions found for Joshua Jackson Vallow?
No.
Okay. Did you submit any other names to the state of Montana?
Did.
What was the purpose? What names did you submit?
those for Tylee Ryan.
Were there any medications found for Tylee Ryan?
No.
Okay. And did you submit any other names?
I believe we submitted for Lori Vallow as well.
Do you know if you submitted for Melanie Boudreau?
Yes, we did.
What was the purpose of submitting Melanie Boudreau's name?
Well, we know from the day of the original search warrants back in November that Melanie was currently living directly next door to Lori. And so in an effort to see if there was any relation between the disappearance of the kids and Melanie in this case, we generated her name as well.
Okay. Detective, did you submit a request to the state of Arizona?
I did.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 93A? Did you receive a response from the state of Arizona?
I did.
What was that?
This was just notification stating that the Department of Arizona prescription monitoring program, there's no record of narcotics or opioids being prescribed to any of the parties that I listed in the email.
Okay, and to your, pursuant to your conversation with Arizona, do they check for, does their drug prescription registry check for drugs that are not narcotics or opioids?
They do not. They only track the opioid-based drugs.
Okay. So, Detective, did your search of prescription drug registries lead you to any information that helped you find Joshua Jackson or J.J. Vallow or Tylee Ryan?
No.
Detective, can you turn to State's Exhibit 96A?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is an email that Lori Vallow sent to her accountant, Michael Edson, inquiring about forwarding of tax return monies.
Okay. May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Detective, what was significant about that document to your investigation?
Well, first off, she's explaining that Charles Vallow, her former husband, had passed away, and she was looking for information on how to obtain monies to be forwarded to her address as she was moving. In and of itself, it appears just to be a normal exchange of information that she's requesting. But if you look at the date and time, that's the part that stands out to us as the investigators.
And why was that? Why was the date and time significant?
Well, the date of the email sent was September 9th, and pursuant to our investigation, we believe Tylee was killed between the 8th and 9th of September. And the time on the email that was sent was 5:03 p.m. So this is just hours after Tylee was, we believe, buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to object for speculation. I think we're guessing here. I'd move to strike.
Your Honor, I think the detective is allowed to testify about his conclusions and findings and why that document was significant and the timing of it was significant.
All right, I
It
think
goes
that's-
to weight and not admissibility.
that will go to cross-examination if you'd like, Mr. Archibald, but I'll overrule that objection.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 98A?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
These are the documents from American Airlines. They're all flight records that we received when we submitted our search warrant.
Did you find any search history for Tylee Ryan or J.J. Vallow or Lori Vallow in these documents?
Yes, there was flight history for both Tylee and Lori. Tylee flew in to Hawaii twice. I mentioned yesterday as well, in February and in March. She flew to Hawaii, and Lori had traveled multiple times on American Airlines. There was no record of JJ flying American Airlines at all.
Okay. And what was the time frame in which you did this search?
We requested our search from the 1st of January of 2019 through the current date of the search warrant.
And do you recall what that was?
The exact date, I don't know, but it was early on in the investigation. I believe it was in February
February of what year?
2020.
Okay. So just to clarify, you found two flights for Tylee Ryan to Hawaii
Yes.
and multiple flights for Lori Vallow.
Yes.
Were any of those flights of Lori Vallow of any interest to you?
Yes, they're on or around the time of Tammy Daybell's funeral. She returned from Hawaii to Phoenix and then made her way by flight to Idaho Falls.
Okay. Do you recall the dates of those flights?
I believe it's the 23rd of October.
Okay. Do you know what day Tammy Daybell's funeral was?
October 23rd, 2019.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 100? May I inquire of the clerk, did State's Exhibit 100 get admitted into evidence?
I show that's been admitted.
Do you have State's Exhibit 100?
I do. It's a business records affidavit.
Your Honor, I need to briefly inquire of defense counsel for one moment, if that's all right.
All right, after you've done that, let's have a brief sidebar as well. There's a couple of issues on the exhibits I want to discuss
Yep.
with counsel as well. We'll go back on the record after that break now to just clarify on the record the exhibits we've got Mr. Wood, one of the issues that came up is Exhibit 93 has already been testified to and published, but we don't believe was admitted previously. So at this time, I would ask the state to move for its admission, and we'll see if there's any objection.
The state so moves, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to that Exhibit 93 having been admitted and now published to the jury?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel, for that. And then, Mr. Wood, if you would clarify on the record here with Exhibit 100, and I believe we've got that remarked now and organized as well, but could you indicate on the record where we're at with Exhibit 100?
Yes, thank you. Exhibit 100, there were two Exhibit 100 submitted. One was the records of a business records custodian, or an affidavit of a business records custodian, and the other were the actual records. The actual records have now been marked as Exhibit 100A.
Okay, and is there any objection to Exhibit, has that been offered yet?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to Exhibit 100A being admitted?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 100A is also admitted then, so we can go ahead and continue on with the examination now, Mr. Wood. Thank you.
Thank you. Detective, do you have a copy of State's Exhibit 100? And I just realized, Your Honor, that I think the detective's copy might still be marked as 100.
If you'd like, you can
Both of the
approach
documents.
with, or have the bailiff have him your correct copy to make sure we're publishing the right thing.
Thank you. Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 100A?
I do.
What is it?
These are records we obtained through Southwest Airlines through a subpoena.
Okay. And what was the significance of those records in your investigation?
We had come across information that Southwest Airlines was being used by Ms. Vallow, so we inquired and we were able to obtain the records in the hopes of locating whether or not J.J. or Tylee had traveled.
And did you find if J.J. or Tylee had ever traveled on Southwest Airlines in the relevant time period?
Yes. J.J. Had 6 trips, and they're all between Phoenix and Houston. And the last trip, I believe the record states, is June 12th. I believe was the last time he flew, or correction, June 16th.
Okay. But no flights after that for J.J. Vallow?
No flights after that.
Did you find any flights for Tylee Ryan?
Did not.
On Southwest Airlines? Okay. Thank you. And Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 99A?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 99A?
These are flight records from Allegiant Airlines that we obtained through the issuance of a search warrant.
Okay, and what was the significance of these records to your investigation?
Well, as we learned yesterday, there were flights being paid for, which we found in the financial records of Lori Vallow, so we obtained flight information to see if J.J. or Tylee have been flown anywhere.
Okay, and what did you find in those records?
There are no flights showing that J.J. or Tylee flew on Allegiant Airlines in our time frame that we searched for.
Okay, did you find any other flights of interest?
There were several flights that from between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow and Melanie Boudreau. There was a lot of travel between Idaho Falls and Phoenix Mesa during that time frame.
Okay. And did that aid your investigation in any way?
can think of nothing else at this time.
Okay. Your Honor, if the court will just give me a brief second to convene with.
Go ahead.
I apologize, Your Honor. If you could just give me one moment. I just have a couple more brief questions, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 97? I would note, Your Honor, that 97 came in both as the affidavit of the records custodian and the records were attached to it.
Okay.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit 97?
Is this the Etsy?
So it's a document from Etsy.
Correct. A document from Etsy?
What is Etsy?
It's an online store you can purchase items through. They're not too familiar with them as I've never used them, but I understand you can use them to purchase items and they'll mail them to you.
Okay. Can you turn to the second page marked, it's shown as Exhibit A?
Okay.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Detective, what does this document show?
It shows that on August 15th, the buyer, the shipping name was Lori Vallow, and it shows a description of what was provided by the shop owner.
Okay. And what is the description of item?
It's glow-in-the-dark malachite inlaid titanium ring.
Okay.
Glow-in-the-dark malachite inlaid titanium ring, both 8 millimeters.
And what is the
Okay. Glow-in-the-dark malachite inlay titanium ring.
Detective, for the record, will you spell malachite?
Malachite.
And what was the order date?
August 15th of 2019.
And who was the purchaser?
Lori Vallow?
Okay. And was there an email account associated with this purchase or attempted purchase?
Yes.
What is that?
lollytime@icloud.com.
Okay. And was there an address given for that item to be shipped to?
The address listed was 5531 South Four Peaks Place, Chandler, Arizona, 85249.
Okay. What was significant about that to you, Detective, in your investigation?
On the bottom column, if it's still up on the screen, and there's a credit card that was used that ended in, on the very loud bottom there, 7213, which is a card for Lori Vallow. The card was ultimately declined.
Okay. Is there anything else significant about that purchase or attempted purchase?
It's that they appeared to be wedding rings.
Okay.
I'll object to that, Your Honor. That is apparently speculation. There's nothing on the document saying it's a wedding ring.
I'll sustain the objection and ask the jurors to disregard the previous response.
Your Honor, the state has no further questions at this time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Who will be conducting cross-examination?
Your Honor, I've reviewed all the documents Detective Consitis has introduced. I don't have any questions for him.
All right. There will be no cross-examination of this witness then, so that will conclude testimony of Detective Consitis. Any objection to him being released?
No objection.
Your Honor, we are asking that he not be released. Detective Consitis had multiple roles in this investigation and will be recalled to testify about completely separate matters.
Okay, understood. So he's the state's witness, so I'll leave that up to the state's discretion as to whether he needs to return. I don't know if he's here under subpoena, but apparently they'll want you back at a later date, and you can talk to the prosecutors about that. So that will conclude your testimony for now, though. I will remind you then, if you are to be recalled, I'll be hopefully remembering, as I have with every witness, to ensure that you have not followed any further trial testimony in the interim. So please abide by that if you're going to be recalled. And with that, then the state, if you've got another witness to call at this time, you can.
Your Honor, the state calls Mike Douglas.
I texted you.
All right, Ms. Rawlings, are you going to be conducting direct here?
Yes, I am. For Mr. Douglas, and maybe this would be an appropriate time. Your Honor, we have some summary exhibits or demonstrative exhibits that have been previously provided to the defense with, along with attribution for it as well. And I'm going to be making a motion for their admission pursuant to IRE 1006 and to aid the jury in understanding the voluminous financial documents and information that were analyzed by Mr. Douglas in this case. They are exhibits 111 through 117. And I believe that I emailed the court and counsel a copy of everything Saturday afternoon.
All right, well, let's go ahead and have your witness sworn, and then if there are additional exhibits you'd like to move to admit, we'll take that up.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And Your Honor, if you'd like, I can have the witnesses handed the originals of exhibits 111 through 117 just to confirm that they were prepared by him in aid of his testimony.
All right, before that, let's get started here. The witness has now been sworn. I'd first like to inquire, have you, Mr. Douglas, reviewed any of the trial testimony before coming in today, or listened in on the trial, or observed it in any way?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll next advise you that while you're testifying, we're making a record, so please make an effort to answer all of the questions with verbal responses and try to avoid speaking at the same time as anyone questioning you, so the record stays clear. So with those rules in mind, then I understand the state request to have the witness provided with copies of certain exhibits. Is that correct, Ms. Rawlings?
That's correct. I believe defense counsel is just confirming they are the same ones. That's the small page, right? The Social Security. I know I emailed it to you. Mr. Douglas, if you'll just look through those and confirm that they are the same summary or demonstrative exhibits that you prepared in aid of your testimony today.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, they are.
All right, Your Honor, and I will move for the admission of those summary exhibits pursuant to 1006.
All right. Well, I've looked at these, so I want to take them up individually. So starting with Exhibit 111, which does appear to be a summary that may qualify under 1006 of the Rules of Evidence. Does the defense have any objection to that being admitted?
Just if this witness can testify that these were prepared by him and what he relied upon to prepare these summaries.
All right. I think that's appropriate to have additional foundation if there's a question as to 111.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Agent Douglas, with regards to Exhibit 111, could you please look at that?
Yes, ma'am. And for the record, I should state that I'm a forensic accountant, not a special agent.
Okay.
Just to make sure that's clear for the record.
Okay, thank you. And did you prepare Exhibit 111?
I did.
What documents did you rely on in preparing Exhibit 111?
So as noted down at the bottom, Tyler had a JP Morgan Chase account that ended in 3918. This was a joint account with Ms. Daybell. And then the following, towards the end, the marks that are in the green and the red, Tyler later had a bank account with BBVA that ended in 5794. And due to Tyler being a minor again, Ms. Daybell had to be a signer on the account.
All right, and were you provided information or bank account information by Detective Consitus with the Rexburg Police Department?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Your Honor, I believe that information was relied upon by Agent Douglas in preparing these exhibits.
All right, with that additional foundation, any objection to Exhibit 111 being admitted?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 111 is admitted as a summary to prove content under Rule 1006. Your next offered exhibit is 112, which is a timeline. What's the offer on that, Ms. Rawlings?
Thank you, Your Honor. And I should also mention that I provided the defense an Excel spreadsheet, and I believe the court also received a copy of the Excel spreadsheet showing all of the account information and attribution and foundation for Mr. Douglas's preparation of these timelines. I believe defense counsel had difficulty opening that Excel spreadsheet that I sent, and I did provide them a hard copy of it yesterday as well.
All right. As it relates then to the timeline, I wouldn't see that as falling under Rule 1006. Is it a demonstrative exhibit?
Yes, it is, Your Honor, and I can go through the questions if you'd like.
Let me just ask then, is there any objection to Exhibit 112 being admitted at this time from the defense?
I don't believe I heard this witness say that he's the one who prepared it, relying upon what information.
All right, if you'd like to ask some foundational questions, you can.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Douglas, in preparation for your testimony today, with regard to Exhibit 112, what is that? Can you identify that?
This is a timeline relative to Tylee and events that happened in her lifetime from the death of her father, Joe Ryan, going forward.
Okay. And did you personally prepare this exhibit?
I did.
Did you prepare it in aid of your testimony today?
I did.
Did you prepare it in an effort to aid the jury in understanding all of the financial information you analyzed?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 112.
All right, any objection as to 112?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, Exhibit 112 is admitted as a demonstrative exhibit. Let's next look at the Exhibit 113, which is also a timeline. Madam Prosecutor, if you'd like to inquire, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Douglas, or Mr. Douglas, would you please identify Exhibit 113 for the record?
This is a chart that, or a timeline that I noted as events that happened in JJ's lifetime from the passing of Charles Vallow moving forward in his lifetime.
Okay, and did you personally prepare that exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you rely on information and financial account information that you received from Detective Considas to prepare that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you prepare that document to aid the jury in understanding the financial accounts and information that you analyzed as part of your work on this case as a forensic accountant?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 112.
I think that's 113.
I'm sorry, 113.
Any objection on 113 being admitted?
May I ask a question in aid of objection?
You may.
Mr. Douglas, on your timeline here, you have dates that Tylee is killed and JJ is killed. Is that part of your accounting, is to figure out when the dates people died, or was that information told to you?
That information was told to me, sir.
Okay. So if those dates aren't correct about the dates that the children were killed, is all the other information on your sheet correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, I don't object to the exhibits. It's based upon what others told him as well.
All right, without objection then, and with that in mind, the court does find that it's allowable as a demonstrative exhibit, and so Exhibit 113 is admitted. Let's next look at Exhibit 114, which was offered. You can inquire as to that as well now, Ms. Rawlings.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Douglas, can you identify Exhibit 114 for the record?
Yes, ma'am. These are Social Security payments received by Ms. Daybell after the passing of the children, or the dates given for the passing of the children.
And did you prepare that document yourself?
I did.
Did you prepare it as an aid or summary for the jury for demonstrative purposes?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 114.
Any objection on 114?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 114 is admitted. Let's next look at Exhibit 115, which is the timeline. You can inquire, Ms. Rawlings.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Douglas, can you identify Exhibit, I think we are on 115 now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. This is a timeline that I've referenced as the grand theft timeline that I prepared.
All right, and you prepared that yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
And you prepared that in aid of your testimony today before the jury?
That is correct.
And did you prepare it in an effort to help the jury understand the voluminous financial information and other information you learned through your investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Exhibit 114 as a demonstrative exhibit.
That's 115
Sorry.
that we're on. Any objection as to Exhibit 115?
May I ask a question in aid of objection?
Yes.
So, Mr. Douglas, again, you're relying on information told to you from the police as to dates of death of Tylee, JJ, and Tammy.
That is correct.
So that's not part of your forensic accounting, is to figure out when and where people died, but that was information that was told to you.
Yes, sir.
With that explanation, Your Honor, I don't have any objection to the exhibit.
All right, then Exhibit 115 is admitted as a demonstrative exhibit. There's another timeline that's Exhibit 116. If you'd like to inquire on foundation for that, you may.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas, can you identify Exhibit 116 for the record?
Yes, ma'am. That is a timeline of the life insurance relative to Miss Tammy Daybell.
And did you prepare that in aid of your testimony today?
I did.
Did you prepare it as an aid to assist the jury in understanding the financial information that you analyzed in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you rely on other information from other law enforcement officers in preparing this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, I would move to admit Exhibit 116.
Any objection as to 116?
For demonstrative purposes, I do not object.
Okay. Exhibit 116 is admitted as a demonstrative exhibit. And then finally, there was Exhibit 117 offered. And if you'd like to ask foundational questions, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Douglas, for the record, can you identify Exhibit 117?
Yes, ma'am. This one I tiled the Venmo activity, and I prepared this in aid of my testimony today.
Thank you. And you prepared that yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
You prepared that to assist the jury in understanding the financial information you analyzed?
I did.
Is there any information on this document that's relying on other officers, or is it just containing financial information?
There is information on it relying on other officers.
Okay. And so you included information that you learned through your contact with other law enforcement in this investigation?
That's correct.
Your Honor, for purposes of demonstrative, for a demonstrative exhibit, I would move for the admission of Exhibit 117.
Any objection as to 117?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Exhibit 117 is now admitted as well. You can continue with any direct examination at this time then, Ms. Rawlings.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I also ask the court to pull previously admitted Exhibits 64A and B? I'll need those shortly. Yes.
Okay, we'll work on getting those ready.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Douglas, will you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Michael Douglas, Michael Douglas, Douglass.
And where are you employed?
With the FBI.
What is your job title with the FBI?
I'm a forensic accountant, ma'am.
Okay. What does a forensic accountant do?
A typical day-to-day is research and analyze financial records, hold interviews, and testify.
Can you describe in more detail the work you did in analyzing the financial data in this case?
So regarding this case, I reviewed nearly 80 bank accounts to include credit card statements for multiple individuals in this case.
Okay. Can you name some of the individuals that you analyzed the bank accounts?
Miss Daybell, Chad Daybell, Alex Cox, to name a few, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask that you be handed, it's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 64A and 64B. Do you recognize those?
I do.
Can you tell the jury what those are?
These are bank statements in the name of Miss Lori Vallow regarding her bank account with BBVA Compass.
Okay. And have you reviewed those records previously?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar, have you reviewed other bank records on behalf of Lori Vallow?
I have.
And are you familiar with Mark Sari?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you worked with Mark Sari in relation to this case?
I have.
In your investigation on this case, have you looked into the deposits of Social Security funds into that BBVA Compass account?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you reviewed Social Security benefits being deposited into any other accounts?
Yes, ma'am.
What were those accounts?
Tyler was receiving Social Security payments into her JP Morgan Chase account ending 3918.
As part of your role as a forensic accountant, we've kind of gone through this a little bit. Did you prepare any demonstrative aids or documents summarizing the amounts of the Social Security funds that were received into that BBVA Compass account?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you familiar with the timeline of the death for Tyler Ryan?
I am.
Do you know approximately when she died?
It is approximately 9/9/19.
Did you create a summary or a demonstrative exhibit with Tylee's financial information?
I have.
All right, and then starting with Exhibit 111. I'm going to try this two ways, Your Honor. I have the hard copy, but they are on legal paper, so I'm not sure how well they'll show under the Elmo. I also have an electronic copy that we can try and pull up on my computer.
Okay.
So if we can try the computer version first. The only thing is that I think that it will show if I switch screens. Yes, it will. So I think we're going to have to go with the Elmo. All right. Can you explain the information contained in this document?
Yes, ma'am. So the information provided on this document are regarding Tylee's two bank accounts. The first one starting with her JP Morgan Chase account beginning January 1 of 2019. And the following bank account for her BBVA Compass account, the 5794. Prior to August 2019, the expenses as they can be seen on here for Tylee's pattern of life are between about 30 to 70 transactions. Those are both brick and mortar purchases, such as going to the local grocery store, and also include monthly expenses such as her Apple account. And then the following, the red and the green, and the information provided there in August and September, both of those show, as I will show later on, when Tylee's BBVA account was open, and then the transition to the BBVA account, the closing of the JP Morgan account, and then the continued use of the BBVA account.
Okay. So how many bank accounts are shown on this document?
2.
All right. And then you explained the colors are tracking what information?
So the blue will show Tylee's deposits that were made into her JP Morgan account. The orange shows the withdrawals or the transactions from that same account. The green is associated with deposits that were into the Compass or BBVA account, and the red are withdrawals from that BBVA account.
Okay. And what account did Tylee's Social Security payments from the death of her father, Joe Ryan, get deposited into initially?
Those were initially going into the Chase account.
Okay. And how did Tylee manage her money when she had access to her JP Morgan Chase account?
Tylee was responsible with her money. I never saw her have one negative balance.
Were any automatic payments set up for Tylee's account, for the JP Morgan account?
She had 2. She had her Jeep payment as well as her T-Mobile payment.
Okay. And did you create a timeline referencing the major financial and other events for Tylee?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I publish Exhibit 112?
You may.
Let's see if we can try it. Are you able to read that, Mr. Douglas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, can you walk me through this timeline?
So this timeline starts regarding the death of Tylee, or passing of Tylee's father, Joe Ryan. The date on that was April 3rd of 2018. It was due to her father's passing was why she received the Social Security payments. The initial Social Security payments start going into her JP Morgan Chase account on June 14th of 2018. We found in Tylee's records, or I found Tylee's records, that she had payments to a GED program, researched that, and we found that Tylee had received her GED, and the passing date was October 12th of 2018. This BBVA account that you handed me earlier, Ms. Vallow or Ms. Daybell, was opened October 23rd of 2018. Joe Ryan held a life insurance policy, and the records that we obtained showed that death benefits were provided and paid into a bank account held by Ms. Daybell to the tune of just about $65,000. That deposit was October 26th of 2018. Also in Tylee's bank records, we found deposits from J&S Investments. Research found that belonged to her uncle, Dr. Jeff Shiflett. She worked for him for a couple of months. So she was having deposits into her account from Dr. Shiflett starting December 10th of 18.
And when did the T-Mobile payments start?
The T-Mobile payments started, as far as the records they provided to us, February 25th of 19.
Okay. And just, if you'll continue walking through that timeline.
Okay. As I noted earlier, Tylee had her Jeep. Charles Vallow helped her purchase that Jeep. He's the co-signer on the application. And her initial payment for the Jeep came out June 3rd of 2019, again from her JP Morgan Chase account. And then following month, July 11th, is the shooting of Charles Vallow by Mr. Cox. A week later, there was a text message that was discovered between Ms. Vallow, or Ms. Daybell and Mr. Daybell about the receiving of $4,000 Social Security funds, but not receiving a life insurance payment or life insurance policy. The following week, we noticed that this was the last payment of Tylee's Social Security funds into her JP Morgan Chase account.
Can you just say the date for the record?
July 24th of 2019. Ms. Vallow had a $2 million life insurance policy. The records provided per the insurance company showed that on August 12th, Ms. Vallow had changed that policy to her son Colby to be 100% beneficiary. Okay. On August 14th was the date that we received, or per the application that we received from the rental company that Ms. Vallow had applied for her apartment in Rexburg. And per this application, Ms. Vallow states that she's receiving $5,740 Social Security funds.
And did that track with your review of the financial information for the Social Security?
No, ma'am, no. On August 16th, of 2019, Tylee's Social Security payments had been changed to be deposited into Ms. Vallow or Ms. Daybell's BBVA account ending in 3229. On August 19th of 2019, this is when Tylee's BBVA account was opened.
Was that a joint account?
It was.
Who was on the account with Tylee?
It would have been Ms. Daybell. August 28th, this is the initial deposit of Tylee's Social Security funds into Ms. Daybell's BBVA account ending in 3229. August 31st, this is the date that we show Ms. Daybell and the children moving to Rexburg. I found throughout my research on September 8th that Colby had requested Tylee to send him a Venmo payment. Venmo being a person-to-person transfer of funds or a peer-to-peer transfer of funds. Tylee responded back that she did not have the funds in her account and that Ms. Daybell was receiving them. Also that date, I wanted to note that Mr. Daybell is searching the wind direction of south-southwest. The next day is noted the homicide of Tylee. There's also an email between Ms. Vallow or Ms. Daybell to a former accountant by the name of Mike Edson, requesting information about a tax refund from a prior year of her and Mr. Vallow. Tylee's Venmo account, as I will show on later information, there is one funding source per her account at the time of her death. The BBVA account of hers was added on 9/10 of 2019, the day after her passing, her believed passing. On September 20th, this is the date that Tylee's JP Morgan Chase account was closed. Per records provided by Colby and also iCloud account information, there's text message information regarding a phone associated with Tylee, phone associated with Ms. Daybell and Colby and I'd be paraphrasing, but I asked Tylee to Venmo you. I sent Tylee money to Venmo you. On October 10th, per information provided by Venmo, they can track your IP information. An IP login transfer of funds from Tylee's account to Colby takes place in Kansas City, Missouri. And I noted the marriage of Chad and Lori on 11/5 of 2019, and then the discovery of the children's remains on Mr. Daybell's property on June 9th of 20.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Your Honor, I have a few more charts. It might be a good time to take the mid-morning break at this point.
Okay, I'll agree with that. So we'll go ahead and take our mid-morning recess for about 20 minutes or so, and then you can continue with your examination after that. Ms. Rawlings, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, please.
Yeah, I don't need it, both anymore.
All right, please.
All right, thank you. Please be seated.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Rawlings.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas, with respect to Tylee's finances, do you recall when the automatic payments for the Jeep stopped?
The final payment stopped on September 1st of 2019, and that was due to the lack of funds in the account.
Thank you. Now, are you familiar with the timeline of the death for J.J. Vallow?
Yes, ma'am.
When approximately did he die?
Approximately September 23rd of 19.
And did you create a timeline referencing major financial and other events for J.J.?
I did.
And during the break, Your Honor, I took the opportunity to try and get my computer up, so hopefully that's a little more clear for everyone. May I publish Exhibit 113, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this the timeline that you created for JJ?
Yes, ma'am.
When did JJ start receiving Social Security benefits?
JJ's benefits started getting paid into Ms. Vallow's account on September 18th of 2019.
All right, and what account was that?
The BBVA 3229 account.
And if you know, where do the funds come from for Social Security?
The passing of his father, Charles Vallow.
Okay, and who pays the Social Security funds out?
Social Security pays those, and they're a direct deposit.
Okay. And Social Security comes from?
Charles's employment.
Sorry. Okay. Can you walk me through the timeline for JJ that you created?
Yes, ma'am. And I apologize. Some of these charts are going to be repetitive, so some of the information the jury is going to see multiple times. Again, the passing of Charles Vallow and the text message exchange between Ms. Vallow and Mr. Daybell regarding the $4,000 of Social Security funds. JJ had a pet, or had a dog named Bailey. We found a message dated August 9th of the attempted sale of Bailey. Again, noting the Miss Vallow's life insurance that was supposed to be 100% to Colby Ryan. On August 14th of 2019 was again when the application for the rental in Rexburg stated that Miss Vallow was receiving $5,740 of Social Security funds. The move of her and the children, again, as you stated earlier, the beginning deposits of the Social Security funds for both Lori and JJ into the BBVA account ending 3229, the approximate passing of JJ, the wedding of on 11/5 of 19, and then again the recovery of JJ's remains on June 9th of 20.
Okay, thank you. Are all of the Social Security benefits paid out after the deaths of Tylee and JJ and associated with those children deposited into that Compass account or BBVA Compass account that you've referenced?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to show you, if I may, what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 114. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
Let me see if I can get it a little bit. Zoom in a little bit more. Well, that did not work. Okay. Did you prepare this document?
I did.
And you prepared this document in the course of your work as a forensic accountant?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell the jury what the contents of that document are?
So these are reflective of the payments that were paid into Ms. Vallow's BBVA Compass account ending 3229. The transactions were labeled as such under those SSA Treasury 310, and then also labeled the TSC Treasury 449. These are payments that were deposited into Ms. Vallow's account a month after the passing of the children.
And can you just note for the record the dates on those?
Yes. Tylee's payments were different dates than JJ and Ms. Vallow's. Tylee's payments were October 23rd of 19, November 27th of 19, December 24th of 19, January 22nd of 20. JJ's were October 16th of 19, November 20 of 19, December 18th of 19, January 15th of 20. And then Ms. Vallow's were October 16th of 19, November 20th of 19, December 18th of 19, and finally January 15th of 20.
And you have mentioned this, but what date were Chad and Lori married?
November 5th of 19.
And can you tell me how many payments were received into Lori Vallow's Compass account on behalf of Tylee Ryan after her death?
4.
And what was the amount of the Social Security payment for each month that was received for Tylee Ryan?
So in October through December of 19, she received $1,859 a month. In January of 20, she received $1,888.
And what's the total amount of those payments?
The total being $7,465.
Okay. And how many monthly payments were there for JJ?
4.
And what was the Social Security payment for each month that was received for JJ Vallow?
October through December of 19, it was $1,951 a month, and January of 20, it was $1,982.
And what was the total amount of those payments?
The $78.35.
And how many payments did Lori receive for caregiver benefits?
She received 4.
And what was the total amount of those payments?
The total amount would be the $39.02 and the $33.43.05.
Okay. How many payments did Lori receive after she was married to Chad?
2.
And what is the total amount of those payments?
The $33.43.05.
And what is the total amount of the Social Security payments that Lori Vallow received from October 2019 until February 2020?
That would be the $22,545.05.
And that is believed to be after the deaths of JJ and Tylee, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that on that document?
It is.
Did you create an exhibit that summarizes the Social Security information and timing of the deaths?
I did.
May I publish Exhibit 115, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can you walk me through this timeline?
Yes, ma'am. Starting again with the passing of Joe Ryan and the receiving of the Social Security benefits by Tylee June 14th of 18. The opening of Ms. Vallow's BBVA account October 23rd of 18. The life insurance policy of Joe Ryan October 26th of 18. And then moving forward to Charles Vallow's passing July 11th of 19. Regarding Charles's passing, Ms. Vallow's had a Bank of Hawaiian credit card that was used to pay for the services of Mr. Vallow on July 12th of 19. The same day, we recovered a phone call between Mr. Daybell and the mortuary requesting information about services, again, July 12th of 19. Again, on July 18th, the text message of the 4,000 Social Security funds and no life insurance, the final deposit of Social Security funds into Tylee's JP Morgan account on July 24th of 19. Ms. Vallow's $2 million life insurance policy being transferred to Colby Ryan as a 100% again. Again, on the rental agreement, or the rental application, of 5740 Social Security payments. Tylee's
Mr. Douglas, can I just ask you,
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this before, but who pays the Social Security benefits?
The Social Security Administration.
And where do those funds come from?
The employment of the parent or the guardian deceased.
And the Social Security Administration has is an arm of what agency?
Outside the federal government?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so when the Social Security payments are being deposited into Lori's account, those are being paid from who?
As far as the deceased and their prior employment records out of the Social Security Administration.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then I think I interrupted you about
fine.
Tylee's Social Security payments being deposited into Lori's account.
Okay. Again, August 28th, this is the initial deposit of Tylee's Social Security funds into Ms. Vallow's 3229 account with BBVA. Again, the move up to Rexburg. This is, again, the text message between Colby Ryan asking Tylee for a Venmo payment, and again, Tylee texting back saying that she doesn't have the money, that mom gets her money now. It was on this same date that we learned there was an increase to Tammy Daybell's life insurance policy on 9/8. On 9/9, again, the passing of Tylee Ryan. And as I noted earlier, with Tylee's Venmo account, she had one funding source, which was her JP Morgan account. On 9/10, per records provided by Venmo, her BVA account was added as a funding source. On 9/18, as discussed earlier, this is when Ms. Vallow and JJ Social Security payments start getting deposited into her account. 3229, again with the text messages regarding the transfer of funds to Colby. The very next day on 9/23, the passing of JJ. And then, as stated, these are dates given to me by law enforcement. The attempted shooting of Miss Tammy Daybell on October 9th of 2019. As I stated earlier, Tylee's Venmo had activity in Kansas City, Missouri on 10/10 with a transfer or a Venmo payment to Colby. The passing of Miss Daybell, October 19th of 19. Chad and Lori's wedding on 11/5 of 19. We received or found an email from Mr. Daybell to a rental company by the name of Kauai Dreams, dated 11/8, asking for information for a clean couple with no pets and no kids. And then on 12/20, this is when the Rexburg Police Department announced their investigation. The first search of Chad Daybell's property took place January 3rd of 20, and again on 6/9 of 20 was the second search of the property, and the remains of the children were found.
Now, Mr. Douglas, we've talked about Venmo a couple of times during your review of these exhibits. Did you also prepare an exhibit referencing money being sent from these Venmo accounts?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I publish Exhibit 117?
Yes, you may.
What is Venmo?
To put it simple, Venmo is an app that you can put on your phone that would be a person-to-person or a peer-to-peer transfer of funds. is one that you have to add the funding source, i.e. your credit card, your bank account, and then transfer money to somebody else with another Venmo account into their holding, and then transfer into their initial bank account, or they can make purchases straight from Venmo.
All right, and on this exhibit, what are the funding sources for the Venmo activity?
So Ms. Vallow had 2 Venmo accounts, and on the top one, at Lori-Vallow, there were multiple funding sources, bank accounts or credit cards, as I stated earlier. The initial one starting January of 2019 through, per the information provided by Venmo, January 4th through January 29th of 19, the JP Morgan Chase account ending 0377 was the funding source for that. Then from March 30th to May 5th, it was transitioned to funding source of Ms. Vallow's First Hawaiian Bank ending 4620 to be transferred and changed to another JP Morgan Chase account held by Ms. Vallow ending in 0769. And there towards the end, there is one attempt on August 24th to use another JP Morgan Chase account or credit card held by Ms. Vallow ending in 7213.
Okay. Are there other accounts listed on this exhibit?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Vallow had a second Venmo account that at Lori-Vallow-1 between February 20th of 19 and May 19th of 19. This was active with her BBVA account ending 3229. And then, as I've noted on here, Venmo had noted failed attempts of transfers of funds with prior, as they listed, duplicate card attempts, meaning another card that was already on the account had been tried to be used again with failed attempts on that. And then Tylee, as I stated before, had her own Venmo account. Her only funding source while she was alive was the JP Morgan Chase account ending 3918. And that was active prior to, but this is reflective of January 7th through the use of August 7th. And then, as I stated, her account, her BBVA account ending 5794 was added September 10th, a day after the believed passing of Tylee, and that was used until the end of 2019.
What did you learn in tracking payments that were made from Lori's accounts?
Lori's 2 accounts favored Colby or Kelsey Benson, who is Colby's spouse or significant other. Before Colby had an active Venmo account, the payments went to Ms. Benson, and they are more often and larger payments.
Okay. And what did you learn in tracking payments from Tylee's accounts?
Tylee's accounts and her payments included other individuals, her friend, Miss Kennedy, and a McKenna Webb. As you can see depicted on here, there's less payments and by far a lesser amount being transferred.
What else stood out to you in compiling this information?
So after the believed passing of Tylee, this is when both of Ms. Vallow's accounts cease, and Tylee's account again has the new funding source of her BBVA account ending 5794 added, and Colby Ryan being the sole receiver of those funds. Between the times of September 10th and December 18th, there's a transfer or 29 transfers totaling $5,940.
In your review of finances, were you able to track other occasions when Lori was using Tylee's funds or a debit card?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they?
So as I refer to brick and mortar purchases, there were 2 purchases at Costa Vida There was a late payment with the rental company of Blue Sky Property that was made, and also a couple of PayPal purchases that, after research, we found was a transfer of money to, or Colby used that credit card information to buy his birthday present, which ended up being a lightsaber.
And in your review of Lori Vallow's finances, did any other purchases stand out to you?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they?
Multiple attempts or purchases of malachite rings.
Have you heard the name Chad Daybell?
I have.
Have you heard the name Alex Cox?
I have.
Did you become involved in an investigation regarding those individuals?
Yes, ma'am.
What were some of your duties or your assignments with regard to that investigation?
Those records also were included, as I stated earlier, in my research of the nearly 80 bank accounts and credit cards that I've researched.
What did you learn in reviewing Alex Cox's finances?
While reviewing Alex Cox's finances, I discovered that he had ended his employment with his prior employer and had taken out what ended up being a deposit of $21,000 in a loan that was what the funds that he lived off.
Okay. Turning your attention to review of Chad Daybell's financial accounts, are you aware of whether search warrants were obtained for Mr. Daybell's financial accounts?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you request those search warrants?
Not initially, but I did request follow-up ones.
Did you review the responsive documents to those search warrants?
I did.
And did you discuss that with other officers?
Yes, ma'am.
In your review, did you notice any activity on his accounts or others that caught your attention prior to Tammy Daybell's passing with regard to Chad?
It was more of what I didn't find on his accounts, ma'am.
Okay. What was that?
So we found, regarding Ms. Vallow's credit card statements, flights regarding Mr. Daybell from Idaho to Arizona.
And those credit cards were not in Chad Daybell's name?
No, ma'am.
Were they associated with any of his accounts that you could tell?
No.
So who were those accounts associated with?
So 2 of the flights were purchased regarding credit card held by Ms. Vallow and joint account holder Alex Cox. And 1 flight was used regarding a credit card that was associated with Ms. Vallow and Mr. Vallow.
Charles Vallow?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know who was making payments on the card that Lori and Alex shared?
Primarily it was Alex, but there was 1 payment by Ms. Vallow.
Okay. And prior to Tammy's death, did you notice anything in the financial records with regard to purchase of a cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
Regarding Chad Daybell's business account with Spring Creek, there is a purchase dated 9/18 of 2019 at the Rexburg Walmart in the amount of $42 and change. And then we followed up with requesting information of Walmart and discovered that was the purchase of a cell phone.
Okay. And what information did you receive from Walmart?
They provided a receipt with the date and time.
And what date did Lori start receiving the Social Security funds for her and JJ?
The same day, September 18th of 2019.
What other activity did you review with Chad Daybell's finances before Tammy's death?
The application, or the change in the application of her life insurance.
Did you create a financial timeline referencing some of this activity?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I publish demonstrative exhibit 116?
Yes.
Can you walk me through the first part of that timeline?
Yes, ma'am. October 26th of 18 is believed to be the date of where Chad and Lori met at a conference in Utah. Initially, as I discussed earlier, Lori was on a joint account with Mr. Cox, and the purchase of a flight on February 23rd of 19, using Alex Cox's Barclay card was used to purchase Lori's flight from Arizona to Idaho Falls. The March 14th of 2019, Lori's account on that joint account with Lori's card on that joint account with Alex Cox was used to purchase a flight for Chad to Arizona. The passing of Charles Vallow, July 11th, again with the Valley of the Mortuary phone call by Mr. Daybell and the purchase of the mortuary, or the payment to the mortuary on July 12th of 19. July 18th, again with the payment information of the Social Security funds and not receiving the life insurance. Again, Lori's, this time Lori's Bank of Hawaii credit card was used to purchase a flight for Mr. Daybell to Arizona on July 20th of 19. Then this card that she shared with Alex Cox again, Lori, sorry.
Why credit card was used to purchase a flight for Mr. Daybell
To Arizona. July 20th of 19.
And then what is the next date of significance on your timeline?
August 2nd of 2019, Lori's card is used to purchase another flight for Chad to Arizona. August 10th of 19, Lori's card is used to purchase a flight for Lori to Idaho Falls. And then the move of her and the children, August 31st. As I discussed earlier, on 9/8 was the increase of Tammy's life insurance, and then we learned that that was retroactive, that it would have taken place, or would have taken effect September 1st.
Okay. And you already answered my next questions. So Tammy's life insurance increase was requested, I'm sorry, what date was that?
September 8th of 19.
And that was retroactive to what date?
September 1st of 19.
And do you recall what date Tammy passed away?
October 19th of 2019.
After Tammy passed away, were you able to discern or tell from the financial records who was paying for Chad and Lori's expenses and activities?
Both of them were making purchases, but by far the larger purchases were paid for by Chad Daybell.
And after Tammy passed away, was there any other activity that you noticed in the Daybell accounts that caught your attention?
This family trip to Knott's Berry Farms.
And did you reference this activity on this timeline?
I did.
Is the laser pointer still?
Yeah. I got it right here.
Can you just reference it on the timeline?
Right here.
And could you tell from the financial documents who paid for that trip?
Chad Daybell.
All right. And in between the time of Tammy's increase, which we talked about, and the trip to Knott's Berry Farm, are there any other financial events of significance on your timeline that we've not gone over yet?
The deposits of the two life insurance payments deposited into Mr. Daybell's accounts.
Okay. And was there anything else that Chad had done regarding finances that caught your attention in October?
The deposit of Chad filed with Primerica Life Insurance, the life insurance claim October 24th of 19, and files with Life Map Insurance October 30th of 19.
All right. Did he start refinance on his home at some point?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Daybell had attempted to refinance his house October 8th of 2019.
Okay. And did you also review a Mountain America account associated with Chad Daybell?
Yes, ma'am.
When did Chad receive the insurance payments for Tammy's death?
The initial he received November 1st, or was deposited into his account November 1st of 2019, and the second was deposited into his account November 16th of 2019.
And I know we covered this earlier, but what date were Chad and Lori married?
November 5th of 19.
Did you, I think that we may have also mentioned this, but did you review any other records that were made in reference to the marriage or living in Hawaii?
Regarding the Kauai Dreams?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. The email to Kauai Dreams on November 8th of 2019 saying clean couple, no pets, no kids.
Did you notice any activity that caught your attention with regard to Mr. Daybell's accounts around June 9th of 2020?
Yes, ma'am. During the search of the property, approximately between 9:50 to 10 o'clock in the morning, there are 3 transfers from Mr. Daybell's Mountain America Credit Union account to his 3 older children in the value of $8,000 each.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said what time those transfers were made, but can you say that again?
It was between 9:50 and 10 a.m.
Okay. Do you know if anything else happened around June 9th of 2020?
That's when the remains of the children were found on the property.
And what time did law enforcement arrive on the Daybell property?
I believe 7 a.m.
Okay. How long did officers remain on the Daybell property searching on June 9th, 2020?
I believe till about 5 p.m.
So those transfers would have occurred as officers were searching?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall, I think you might have mentioned this, I'm sorry, what was the amount on the transfers that were made to the 3 older children?
$8,000 each.
And do you recall, after that $24,000 had been transferred, how much money was left in that account?
There's a little over $4,400 left.
Your Honor, may I have just a brief moment to confer?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas, if you know, on that Knott's Berry Farm trip, do you recall who was involved in going to that trip?
So there were 7 tickets purchased. Mr. Daybell, 5 of his children, and Miss Vallow.
Okay. I don't believe I have any other questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rawlings. Cross-examination?
May I have just a moment?
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions for Officer Douglas.
All right. That will conclude your testimony today then. Thank you for appearing. Is this witness going to be recalled or can they be excused?
Your Honor, we may need him at a later date, so we would just ask that he be available under subpoena.
Okay. I'll have you notify him of that, and we won't formally excuse him at this time then. So let's have our next witness called.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.